Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, and welcome to Open Money. I'm Ernie Jacob. I'm in the Comox Valley on the northwest coast of Turtle Island. And Alan Rosenblith is in Portland, just down highway, what is it, I-5?
I-5, yeah.
I-5. Anyway, Alan, hi, how are you? Good to have you here. Alan, you're going to be talking about Community Way, and we'll probably get to the Portland Community Way project that you and several others are working on. And you wanted to do the definitive Community Way intro. So over to you.
Well, hi, Ernie. Yeah, thanks very much for having me on the show again. It's a real pleasure to be here. Yeah, so, well, basically, we're working on this Community Way project here in Portland. And I thought it'd be a good idea to just explain the basics and get a little bit more media out there to the people, so to speak. So the question is, what is Community Way? And I think the key point here is that Community Way is a systemic solution to a lot of different problems and a lot of different parts of the economy. It really looks at a lot of different parts of the economy. And those parts are businesses, particularly in our case, local businesses, small and medium-sized local businesses, charities, nonprofits, community service organizations, that whole sector of the economy, and the individuals that make up the economy. So we're really looking to create positive, mutually beneficial relationships between these different groups. And Community Way does that, and it really catalyzes a lot of energy in the community that we didn't realize that we had. I mean, energy that's here, but heretofore has been unutilized. So Community Way gives us a very powerful way to bring that into use. So we'll just go through the basic here, and we'll talk about what the benefits are to businesses, what the benefits are to nonprofits, and what the benefits are to individuals. So first, let's talk about what the benefits are to businesses. Community Way is, first, a loyalty program. You can think of this kind of like air miles, or even gift certificates are a way of capturing loyalty. So this is a way of bringing in new customers, and it's a way of improving one's standing in the community vis-a-vis social and environmental responsibility. And it's a way of just being a better community participant in general. The other emergent benefit to businesses over time is Community Way also offers many of the advantages of the commercial barter industry. So we see a way for businesses to save on their cash costs when they do business with each other. And we can see over time that businesses will be able to provide things of great value to their employees that they're currently unable to, such as preventative health care, child care, that kind of thing, bonuses, and other ways to sort of bring their employees into a deeper sense of involvement with the business and with the community.
Alan, what?
What's up?
Yeah, what's the context for this? What is Community Way?
Well, Community Way is a systemic currency program. You could think of it that way. And it's basically a way of creating beneficial economic relationships between businesses, nonprofits, and individuals. So, it's something that we're looking to put in as a smart card technology. So when all this is said and done, people will be using smart card technology to move the Community Way dollars from nonprofits to individuals and ultimately back to businesses. So
these Community Way dollars obviously aren't federal U.S. dollars.
No. What's important to realize here is that these Community Way dollars are commitments by businesses. But let's before we get into all the specifics, let's just finish going over what the advantages are to each of the parties. So anyway, so to nonprofits, this is a very, very powerful fundraiser tool because we're looking at catalyzing about $1,000 per full-time equivalent in the business sector that's being put into the service of community service organizations. And so if you think in a community the size of Portland metro area here, where we have probably in the region of 1.2 million full-time employees, that's a $1.2 billion of tappable resources that can go to community service organizations. So if you think about the kinds of services that we could offer if we were using those kinds of financial resources towards benefiting the community, I mean, it's really quite impressive. Talking about things like solving the homeless problem here, providing good jobs for everyone, providing job training, supporting women's shelters, schools, education, healthcare, you name it. All the things that fall into that category are going to really benefit because there's an awful lot of financial capital that's available that we didn't even know we had. That's the point. And the other thing about nonprofits, by participating in the system, they get, so the first advantage is they get a lot of access to money. The second advantage to them is that they build their visibility in the community because, this is taking place in a very open environment, and one of the big problems a lot of nonprofits have is their visibility. They want to, they're competing for eyeballs the same way other entities in the economy are. So this is another way to kind of bring in eyeballs and give them stature. So then the advantage to individuals participating in this is it gives a real way to support the charities, the community services that they want to support at a much greater level because they're supporting them without losing any of their purchasing power. So this is it's a way we can really make better use of our spending habits and at the same time support the local economy. So we're supporting the community service sector and we're agreeing to shop locally at participating businesses. So that's kind of the rough overview of what each of these different groups stands to gain from participating in this program. We can get into the specifics a little bit.
Well, it's a win-win-win all around, as you say. And I just wanted to point out that Michael Linton has entered the room. Hello, Michael.
Hello, Ernie. Hello, Alan.
Hi, Michael.
How you doing?
Good.
Okay,
yeah,
so we wanted to nail this down in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So that people could, have first bite at it, and then they could go off and do something else.
Yeah. Well, so that I guess before we get into the sort of more technical side of how this works, first of all, this is a pretty exciting program, and the more we're sort of sharing it out in the community, the more excitement we're getting. People very excited about this process, and I hear a lot of very positive feedback from all corners about it. So the question is, how can we participate? How can everybody in the community participate in this process? And, usually when one's trying to create an initiative of some community importance, there's really two things that one can do. And the first is if you do have directly applicable skills such as web development or, marketing skills or graphic design or whatever, that you would directly contribute your skills. And then the second thing is if you don't have directly applicable skills, you would contribute your money. But the exciting thing about what we're doing here is there's actually a third option, and it's an option that I think gets kind of overlooked a lot of the time. And it's an option that we're basically going to be using our own community way technology to facilitate. And basically what this looks like is we're saying, maybe you're not a marketer, maybe you're not a graphic designer, maybe you're not a web developer, maybe you're a dentist. Now, dental skills are not prerequisite for getting the Community Way program up and running, but they are valuable. So what we're saying is anybody can contribute their goods and services that they have to offer to the community of people who are looking to support Community Way and who want to make this happen. And by offering your goods and services, I mean, it could be dental work, it could be something as simple as walking the neighbor's dog, it could be something taking somebody to the airport, any of these types of services, gardening, all of that. We're basically inviting people to help grow the community and help support each other in a community of supporters that is trying to enable Community Way. And the way this looks on a practical level, because of course we are going to have some cash costs, is we basically keep track of this through an accounting system. And we're having a little internal debate about what we call this. But for now, we're calling it nods. There's a couple other proposals on the table too: boosts, props, ports, etc. But for now, we're calling it nods. And the way this works is nods are issued to people who directly contribute. So that could be a cash contribution, and the nods are dollar for dollar. So if you put in $500, you would get 500 nods. Or nods are issued to people who do direct contributions in some way, web development, marketing, that kind of thing. So now what's exciting about this is that the nods that we're saying, what we're asking the general community of supporters, what will you do for nods? Now let's hypothetically think about the person who gives me a ride to the airport and saves me $25 on a taxi. Okay, well, I would have had to pay $25 on a taxi, but because this person gave me a ride, I'll give them 25 nods. Okay, so now now they've directly contributed. They've saved my cash costs. I saved $25, and they're getting recognized because they're getting nods. Now let's imagine that person needs a little bit of dental work done. Well, they can put the nods that they've earned into that because there's a dentist in the community who's willing to take part of their service fee in the form of nods. So basically, it's like a barn racing. And I think, Michael, you used this analogy, where what we have is a scenario where not everybody is necessarily hammering nails and raising beams and that kind of thing. You have some people making lemonade. You have some people watching the kids. That kind of thing. So everybody participates. It's a community.
Everybody can join in. Everybody's got something to bring to the party. It's a way of sharing the load. Any project, somebody's got to do it. Nobody, the job doesn't get done without people working. But normally we've restricted that to the people who are either paid because there's a big cash pot to start with, or the people who are good with a hammer and nails if it's building the barn or something. And we do want to bring in all the people who feel a willingness to contribute and help the project go forward. And what you're describing is a very simple and accessible mechanism for drawing willing contributors to making their effects valuable. They're translating it into results, and the people who are doing the actual direct work are being rewarded, are being supported.
I also want to emphasize here that there's a lot of collateral benefit to this funding model. In a sort of traditional model, when you go out and seek, grant funding or something like that, it's sort of, well, you get the money and somebody else doesn't. That kind of thing. In this model,
and you've got to try and get as much money as possible by saying that you're going to pay your staff as little as possible.
Exactly. And so, thereby you set up a direct conflict of interest between your own group and the project that you're working on. So this is a totally different model, because what we're saying here is there's tremendous collateral benefits for, they talk about collateral damages. Well, here we've got collateral benefits, because the very act of participating in this system, you're building community. You're getting to know other people who value a system like this, and build connection with them, and basically build a safety net, a support system. And so, that's a totally emergent property of participating in this. And at the same time, we value the work that we're doing. So.
Well, quite so. And that's perhaps one of the core ideas of community currency is that I do something for you and you do something for him and he does something for me, and vice versa, round and round in circles and loops within our group, our new tribe of active, engaged people. And because it's a recirculating money, we get this continual containment of wealth creation. So the result is we all, have more bread on the table and more tables to put the bread on top of, for instance. We get things done. But also, we build the social capital of our connectivity, of our experience that we can do this, and it generates value. And the value of that value is huge. It's this business about, feed somebody for a day, that's one thing, but teach them to farm, you're way ahead. Well, man, this is the farm. If people get community currencies moving around, they are in commonwealth by their actions, just by following their self-interest in this network. You don't have to be moral. You don't have to have rules. You don't have to have committees of control. It's basically, if I scratch your back and you scratch Ernie's and Ernie scratches mine, then we're all scratched. Hey!
Wow. Well, anyway, so let's maybe this would be a good opportunity to parse some of the specifics around the community way system a little bit, because I gave a little overview in the beginning, but didn't really talk about the mechanism at all. So maybe I'll just spend a couple minutes describing that, if that's all right. And
Go for it. Go for it.
Yeah. So basically what we're looking at here is, the core mechanism of this happens as businesses participate in the system by donating community way dollars to nonprofits. Now, it's really important to realize that there's no hard cash fee for businesses to participate in this system. So we're not, it's not a bait and switch kind of situation here. Their initial opening move is to go into our account, and this would be the sort of third-party record keeper situation here. And on our books, the businesses go negative, and community service organizations of their choosing go positive, and in the account. Now that basically means it's like issuing a gift certificate. This is a model that's been well used for a long time now. If a business wants to, issue a gift certificate to a nonprofit so the nonprofit can sell it and get the cash, and then the person who supported the nonprofit comes back to the business and, gets the free weekend at the bed and breakfast or something like that. It's basically the same model that we're talking about here, but it's we're kind of making it so that it's cross-applicable to different businesses and different nonprofits. Now, what that means is, we're starting this process off and saying, listen, businesses should really issue about $1,000 per full-time equivalent to nonprofits. And so let's say they have 5 full-time employees. Well, that's $5,000 that the business goes negative, 5,000 community way dollars. So there's no hard cash costs. It's just they're in the system, 5,000 community way dollars. And the community service organizations are up $5,000. Now, the simplest, the easiest way to explain this is then the community service organizations go and sell these community way dollars to their networks of supporters, dollar for dollar, and then the people use those community way dollars back at the businesses. So basically, when businesses use their community way dollars, or issue the community way dollars, they represent future promises to supply goods and services to the bearer of these dollars. Now, there's a couple key facts here. So one is the community way dollars. Well, the first thing is that businesses have captured the loyalty of the network of supporters of nonprofits. So that's a really important thing. Now, because the community way dollars are cross applicable, just by joining the system, they've actually captured the loyalty of not only the community service organizations that they support, but the loyalty of all of the community service organizations in the system and all of their networks of supporters. So there's actually a very powerful new market here for the business. Now, on the cost side of things, back to the business, when the community way dollars come back, businesses can set a percentage acceptance rate. So, hypothetical example, $100 sweater. They issue a certain amount of community way dollars that are bought from the nonprofits by their network of supporters. Those people ultimately come back to the business and buy the $100 sweater. Well, if the sweater cost, say, $40, and that would leave a 60% margin, right, that the business is playing with. Now, say let's make, instead of a 60% margin, let's make a 10% margin and accept 50% in community way dollars. So.
Hold on.
Uh-oh, did I get something wrong?
Well, I think the margin has not changed because the currency of payment has changed.
Yeah.
The business is still enjoying the same clear margin, its same markup on its wholesale costs, thereby realizing a revenue. So a little careful about that 10% margin when you come down to 50-50.
Good point, Mike.
It's still 60%. Thank you.
Good point. Good point. Because what it means is it's a 10% margin in cash, but then a 50% margin in the community way dollars, which, as more and more businesses join up, now you can spend at other businesses. So we've got a business-to-business service happening here, and this is a well-established principle in the commercial barter industry that, services like printing and marketing and lawyer fees and dental fees and all those kinds of things that businesses, spend with each other, those community way dollars are still applicable to other people in the network, are spendable with other people in the network. So, yeah, you're absolutely right to say
if I can catch a point there, returning to your baseline proposition that the businesses capture loyalty from the nonprofits and the consumers who are supporting those nonprofits, that is true, that is accurate, and it's a minimalist statement in the old model that marketing is about capturing consumers, and it's a one-way game, really. The beauty of the community way process is that it's loyalty not just of the consumer to the business, which is seen as the benefit for the business at the bottom line, but it's also the loyalty of the business to other businesses, the nonprofits to each other, the nonprofits to their support base, the support base to the community. In fact, it is loyalty across the board. It is connectivity. It is a new form of tribalism that doesn't mean the sort of exploitative model that we feel from my business captures that loyalty. That's clean. It's real, but it seems to be one way. This is multi-way.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. There's a lot of collateral benefits to participating in this system, and and that's just one of them. I mean, I'm just for the business. The business case scenario is why would I want to join up? And well, here's a way to capture some loyalty, and also be able to participate in a way to make better use of unused capacity. Because that's the other piece of this too, is that businesses have, on average between 20 and 40% of unused capacity. So that's business they could be doing but are not. And what this does is it allows that business, their unused capacity, to turn into an asset. It turns into a way to bring in new customers, and it turns in a way to get access to the unused capacity of other businesses. So
yeah, it keeps the gifts moving.
Let me just catch a point here too, Alan, and that is the issue of capture. I think it's more like attract rather than capture, because ultimately nobody gets captured. They might like your store and they might like your offer of 20% in Community Way dollars, but then somebody else down the street offers 30% in Community Way dollars, and the loyalty is no longer captured. So it's not quite so fundamental.
Well, I think what we're talking about now is what direction are the incentives moving in the system? And what I see is, the higher a percent that a business is able to offer its services for in Community Way dollars, the more customers it's going to attract. Now,
that's right. It's the attractiveness of it.
That means that, and because the business is also using Community Way dollars at other businesses, that means the degree to which the business can source its needs from within the network, the more it can do that, the higher a percentage it can offer in Community Way dollars, which is how this program localizes the economy.
Yeah.
Because
very, very fail-safe. That's I think one of the strongest elements to emphasize in the presentation of this concept is if you keep your eye on the ball, you can't lose. That is, you keep fairly intelligent, mind your cash flow, and it's all on the upside. It's not about you're risking cash, you're risking inventory, you're risking time. You're not. This is a no-risk, how can you lose package.
Yeah. And I mean, it's important to say because there's not the risk is not, many people say, oh, well, maybe they hear about, oh, well, the business goes into the negative. Oh, that must mean there's a big risk. And actually, the risk comes from being in the positive, which is an important point and kind of flips it a little bit the other way from how we're used to thinking about it. Because if you're in the positive and something happens, there's a Armageddon, something like that, that represents value you could have received from the community but did not. So the key is to keep your account, either as close to zero as possible, because that represents the amount that you've contributed and the amount that you're receiving are equal or equivalent. So,
but you notice that positive.
Not necessarily so for the businesses, though, that have contributed, that have made the donations. When they go negative, we tell them to stay negative.
Yeah.
Just move the money.
Yeah. Well, exactly. And that's a good point too, because when they're in the negative, they're out of risk. There is no risk to them when they're in the negative. So it's actually in their incentive, their best interest to stay in the negative. And that means money is coming back to community service organizations, money is being spent business to business, money is being spent to organize community health initiatives, community child care initiatives, all things like that. So
very substantial potentials here. At the beginning of the program, you mentioned that you're working in an economy of about 1 million employees in the Portland area. And that means, most people are earning or costing in the economy terms something in the region of $50,000 per employee, maybe higher, much higher in some cases. So the business turnover that's associated with this 1 million employees can be somewhere between, say, 50 billion to $100 billion. Now, let's suppose, very hypothetically, that the community currency process gradually develops to the point where, say, 10% of that economy, what did I say it was? It would be $50 or $100 billion. Well,
50 billion,
10%.
So 5 billion.
So if you had $5 billion circulating, and all of that is going sort of through the business sector at some point, well, suppose the businesses were tithing. Now, you can't expect a business to tithe in cash. We're all too tight with it. It's a scarce commodity. We survive by it. We lose if we've lost it. We're out of. We can't give it away, not easily. So businesses do not tithe. Some businesses will donate something like 1% of post-tax profits, and that's generous, and it's very welcome. But suppose in this $5 billion circulating economy of community currencies, suppose 10% of that were the general level at which businesses moved community currency back into the community, as they will. We're expecting something in the region of 10% of a business's community currency turnover to be redirected from that business to nonprofits, community projects, events like that. Well, that's looking like $500 million a year.
That's right. $500 million a year that's directed to the community in the service of things that ultimately benefit the community and therefore increase economic productivity in the local area. A good example of this is the women's shelter. You give people, who are going through kind of a tough time, you give them a safe haven and a nurturing, caring environment to kind of get their feet back on the ground. Well, not only have you done a good thing and a nice thing for somebody, but you've also now created somebody who's more productive in the economy. So it's a win-win-win, really. And that's the economic benefit that these community service organizations provide. Same with education. Same with child care. Somebody who's receiving high-quality child care is going to be a more productive member of society.
But we're talking some pie in a later sky here at the moment. And it's useful to put the pie out there. It's very, very valuable for people to think, why are we messing with this little game in our little world with our little group of people who are trying to do this thing? And, well, we're trying to do it so that 5 years down the line, that $500 million may be a regular and significant factor in the Portland economy. Now, at the moment, though, we're not talking $500 million. At the moment, we're talking, how do we get this baby on the road? How do we move this thing out there? What's involved in starting Community Way? Without promising the $500 million, what can we do in the next 6 weeks, the next 6 months that's realistic, that's practical, that's immediately available? And maybe we should be talking a bit about that now, eh? Talk about getting these wheels on the tracks.
Well, absolutely. And, so we met last Saturday and established the beginnings of, hopefully this Saturday, finalizing the accounting protocols that we're going to be using to keep track of all this stuff. And, basically what that looks like is as people contribute things that the group considers a valuable contribution to the project, they are acknowledged and receive nods. And that could be a cash contribution, that could be a labor contribution. But these nods are basically how we're keeping track of who's doing what. And then ultimately, as the process gets a Community Way dollar revenue stream from that initial donation that the businesses make in Community Way dollars, these nods will be able to be changed out for Community Way dollars. So it's an assertion in, using these nods is basically an affirmation that A, this is an important system, and B, the process is happening in a way that is likely to generate results. So efficacy and importance, that's what we're talking about. That's, backing the nod system.
Yes, I like the way you're approaching this, Alan. The nods are, in a way, it's the measure of what we've all put into this project. It also then becomes a measure of the health of the project. I mean, right at the beginning, a nod is worth nothing, in real terms. It's our promise to ourselves. It's our hope that this project is going to fly and flourish and generate value. But a nod in itself is just an empty marker. It's a score. Now, once the system's cooking, once the revenues are coming, nods get real. So it's our sort of thermometer, if you like. It's the pressure indicator. It's the quality of our project well-being. It's how good are your nods?
Well, and we're using these nods as a way to build community in a larger network of supporters as well. So to me, it's one of those. There's a collateral benefit. It's not simply just keeping score. It's also a modus of building involvement and building connectivity within a larger group. So Even though I'm not totally crazy about the word nods, I really like the rationale for why you chose that word, which is, if you have a great idea, and you present it to some people, you get a lot of people nodding.
Well, that was one. Let me tell you the story of where that word came from. And I've got to say, it's nothing to do with me.
Okay.
And in fact, I regard it as a nice interim nickname for the concept. It's about the roadies who put together the shows. You go out with a band. What do you get for it? Well, you get a T-shirt and maybe you get fed and some beer. That's about it. People don't get money for doing road shows. But what they do it for, they do it because one night they're at the back of the stage coiling up the mic cables, and it's all tired and sweaty. And the guy from the lead comes by and he nods at him. And that's why they do it. We do this for the nods, And so it encapsulates that issue of, if you're coming into this project, you're in it for the nods. That's the first level. For the recognition that you're doing something valuable and you're being recognized for doing something valuable.
By Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I just find that very funny. That's a great way of saying it. Absolutely. It's
yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, and I think there's just
interdict here.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to make an announcement here that if anybody wanted to call in, they should call 646-716-9424. That's 646-716-9424. This is Open Money on Blog Talk Radio. So back to you, Alan. I interrupted. What were you saying?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, just, when we talk about what are we doing in the next 6 weeks, that sort of thing, what are we doing in the next couple months, I think the recognition is, our plan right now is to build this network of people, of nod supporters, of people who are willing to provide goods and services of their own in exchange for nods. And, as more people are willing to do that, I think the more able people are going to be to make cash contributions. Because, if let's say, I'm kind of standing around here saying, wow, this is a good idea, and I see, oh, wow, a lot of people are offering rides to the airport. Well, maybe I can put in $100. And if I put in $100 and take 4 rides to the airport, well, I haven't lost anything. You see what I'm saying? So that's just the more people there are there who are going to be in this network of supporters, the more able we will be to receive cash contributions. Now, the other part of that is when we start approaching businesses to make the initial community way donations, what we can say is, let's hypothetically, we have a network now of about 43 supporters on our Ning site, and I'm hoping to build that up to at least 100 in the next month. Now, what that means is we can go to a business and say, here's a network of 100 people who would be potentially interested in, this is loyalty you can attract, or because these people are interested in this project, and these people have agreed to offer their own goods and services so much so that they're supporting it with, their real labor, their real contributions. And as they're earning these nods, Community Way dollars comes in, and we can say, listen, these are the people who are going to be your customers. So that, to me, that makes a very valuable real-world case to the business. Like, look at our customers. These are the customers for you. Come and have them.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So that, to me, that's kind of and I don't think we have to wait too long to get to that point. I think basically, if we're kind of working on several different fronts, getting all of our brand marketing together, probably by the time we have that, we'll have enough supporters in our nod supporter circle that this is going to be a very attractive proposition for businesses.
let's put a hypothetical in here. Hypothetical is somebody in Portland's listening to this. They think to themselves, I'll talk to my boss about this. And then in a couple of weeks, you get somebody calling in and saying, I've paid a bit of attention, been watching your site, looking at this. I'd like to be involved. My business is 50 employees. And you're off.
Exactly.
It's just get the word out there. Let people talk about this. Give them something tangible that they can describe, something that they can focus towards, a place where people can check in and say, I've heard about this. Is it for real? And you say, yes, sign here. And you're off. Businesses will fall into this with their boots on. They'll be so happy to see this. The ones that are awake and aware and are quick on the draw. We've been talking to some major corporations, and it's, oh my God, it's like elephants mating. It takes 3 years. You know, it goes on forever, and nothing happens for a long time. Big corporations are slow. But somewhere we're going to find the middle-sized corporation, the big multinational that says, damn it, this looks good. Could work in 28 of our market sectors. I'd like to try this. I want to make a difference in the world. How do I play? And then all of a sudden, we shift from just being grassrooting this up, which is great and legitimate, but now we've got a following wind. We've got some power in this system, and it becomes both local and regional and potentially a global network.
Exactly.
Now, these are all possibilities that exist right now, today. Any business can click on this and we'll run. So if there's anybody out there who works for a major corporation with aspirations to corporate social responsibility, with an intent to make a difference in the world rather than just a profit, give us a call. We're ready.
I guess we should point them to some, some sites where they can get in touch.
Well,
Like
maybe I'll just make the first
trading site.
Yeah, well, let me actually just make the first statement here, and that is, it's right now we're keeping it as an invite-only site. So if you want to be invited, you can send me an email, and my email address is Alan, ALAN, at themoneyfix.org. That's TheMoney.org. And if
Could you spell money again, please? MONEY? Yes, I think I've got that. And the other way is, of course, is Google Open Money. Either 2 words or 1 word. And just follow your nose. If you can't find us through that, you're not looking very well. So Open Money and themoneyfix.org, your path to future happiness.
Well, yeah, and just send me an email if you want to get on our Cascadia Trading Co-op social network, and that will, and that's the venue that we're using to organize all these things. So happy to hear from you.
But people can still see what's going on, can't they?
Actually, we made it a closed network because we wanted to make sure that
without an ID, without an account, you can't see what's going on.
Yeah, well, for now, what we wanted to do...
No, that's fine. I was curious, that's all.
And people need to know that, Maybe it'd be good to put up a little side network, which is sort of Cascadia Public. Yeah?
Yeah.
Just,
on our to-do list.
Well, what you could do is you could open that up on the openmoney.ning site, which is, of course, a sister on this platform. So you could start a forum on there about Cascadia. That would be very welcome, in fact, and it would provide a channel for people to reach you, although they wouldn't be able to get on. Oh, I have a lot of them. I have lots of those.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I will do that. So, yeah, I think. And I think this is one of the key points to make, just to kind of get back to what you're saying about getting the ball rolling, so to speak. And that is, we did this. I'll just share a little experience here. And we did this meeting on Saturday, and it was an all-day meeting. And I was expecting, okay, well, maybe like 4 or 5 people would show up because it's all day. It's a beautiful day. It's Portland. We hardly ever get beautiful days. But 11 people showed up and spent all day on Saturday. 6 hours they spent learning about this process and participating in it. So I think that shows, that the people out there are serious. And there was this moment, when we kind of got to this, when we got done sort of explaining all the technical stuff and everything like that, and sort of hashing through that, there was this moment where you could really palpably feel the potential energy in this group. That there's I think you used the analogy like a bow being drawn back, and you could feel it there. Everybody was ready to go. And I think that's one of those things that we really have to, as community organizers and as social entrepreneurs, we really have to learn ways, very palpable and immediate ways of taking energy like that and just putting it right into action. Because,
realizing our power.
Yeah.
Empowering the community with these tools.
And that's been one of the things about this nod system is, I've been running around Portland and getting people excited about this. And, a lot of people are going, yeah, good idea. They're nodding.
Yeah.
So it's about catalyzing that energy, and that's something we can do now. See, that the energy is already there. Getting the potential energy to go forward on this, that's already there. We just have to have the process. We have to be able to learn how to release the bow.
There's this huge pent-up energy all over the planet, in every part of the world. People want it to change. People need to see change. But generally speaking, the way of getting change is something like join a political party and pray and vote, or work your butt off in a non-profit at minimum wages and see if you can offset the damage that the corporate profit structure is doing. They're all fairly hopeless, and they all require immense degrees of self-sacrifice or commitment by the persons involved. Here we have a package which rather says, just a minute, we can make a big difference, it's good work, and you can get paid for it. Now this is new. There isn't anything else around that sits between the market and the service sector. Usually it's market. We're making a profit. We cut our corners. It's a competitive world. Or go work in the school system, or go work in street support, or be an underpaid activist or something. So those are the choices people are usually faced with. We're coming in the middle. We're saying here's a place where you can be of service, you can be effective, and you can make a good wage. So I'm not surprised 11 people show up and spend a sunny day in Portland talking about it. And I think we'll see the same thing happening in more and more communities as people understand the opportunity here.
Yeah.
Do well by doing good.
Well, and that's something I hear all the time. When I go to these, I'm part of all kinds of different groups here. And I go to these meetings, and one thing I hear so frequently is, we want action. We want to get involved. We don't want to just talk about it. We don't want to just, pretend this is, just like live in a dream world of a better world. We want to actually get something rolling. And I think that's what this is all about. And having this way to catalyze that community energy, we're basically catalyzing a chain reaction. And we're taking all that pent-up energy that people have, that they want to live in better community with each other, that they want to contribute to and see more services for each other, and see our general commonwealth going up, lower crime rates, lower homeless population, that kind of thing. And we're just taking that and we're saying, hey, you can do all of that right now. So
yeah, and and I like the catalyze word, but even that is sort of not quite it. What we're really doing is cutting little channels that enable the energy to flow from one place to another. It's like we're connecting the dots. We're facilitating the interchange that wants to happen anyway.
Yeah.
By making the channels available. We're a connective net. Ernie's line for it was the perpetual money machine. You open up these channels and you've got an ongoing game that was really all available, but nobody had seen it or realized it. Realization, bringing it into reality.
Yeah.
So that people's willingness to participate and serve and interact and make a difference in the world can actually be realized.
Yeah, one of the things maybe don't want to get too off into outer space here, but just this is sometimes useful for me at least. I tend to be a little philosophical kind of mindset, but this is at least somewhat useful. Sometimes I think about that money is really and the economy in general is really a circle of promises. It's, well, I'll do this for you if I can get this from them. And the terms under which we make these promises and the circumstances under which these promises occur can work either against the system as a whole and against the health of the community, or they can work for the community. And that's what we're saying. I mean, really, when you're just talking about circles of promises, it's actually a very simple thing in a way. And
I hope so.
it's not rocket science here. We're talking about just people wanting to do good and do well by doing good. That's a really important point as well, because it's not this self-sacrifice deal. It's about getting fair compensation.
Yeah, but one thing, or two things. It is science, and it's going to go like a rocket.
Yeah. Well, certainly more scientific than the way economics has been framed heretofore.
Oh, yeah. Pure mumbo-jumbo and nonsense. Mysticism and magic. High priesthoods of religious rhetoric. This is going to change the basis of economics. I'll just put that in because it's time to say so. This is going to change the basis of economics. It's actually going to make economics possibly scientific. Not in all respects, but there will be sectors of economics that can truly call themselves scientific when they have the means to relate with, manageable information.
Yeah.
There are no boundaries in the conventional economic world. It's just a bloody awful mess. And so you can make assertions about how it's behaving, but they're functionally untestable. That's why economics has so many adherents and arguments. It's not a science, it's a politics. It's a religion. It's a matter of opinion. Well, community currencies are going to at least provide a space within which the analysis of economics can be a scientific act.
Well, that's food for thought here.
We've gone way, way off here into space, but that's good. It was good. It's nice to explore the surrounding air and.
Well, most people probably won't listen this far into the show anyway.
I never know. There's some really good stuff here, though, and I just wanted to point out that there's about 6 minutes left to the show. If there's anything else that needs nailed down about Community Way and getting it going, we've got a few minutes left, and we might want to talk about next steps.
Well, I don't think we can really go very far with those details, and I think they deserve another broadcast to tidy them up and get a succinct capsule. But I think one thing I'd say about Community Way is that it doesn't actually need to be done in a big city with smart cards and the bells and whistles. Should be in those cases, I think, but suppose you're a small township on the outskirts of somewhere, and you could do this as a school project without any of the overhead of running up all this game. It could be a high school class decides to take this project on as an educational exercise and as community service. And there need be very little of this overhead. There's just the software, the agreement, the game, the process. Do it. So we've got to say, the technologies we're looking at for places like Portland, places like Vancouver, places like, all over the place, as a matter of fact. Those technologies are amplifiers and coordinators, and they're very effective. They are not essential. What is essential? A bunch of businesses commit support to a bunch of community initiatives.
Yeah. Hello?
Hello?
Hello.
Hello. Oh, looks like
A little
Michael
technical
has
difficulties
dropped
there.
off. Yeah, no, he's dropped off. We've lost him. Just like I got lost earlier on in the show. This is kind of annoying. But anyway, we've got about 4 minutes left.
You know.
I thought that was a really good show. I thought you covered the ground very well and laid out the possibilities.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think this is it's a process. You know, like this is an important thing, I think, to kind of recognize that all these things that we're talking about are verbs rather than nouns. And you know, some people, you know, it's important to remember that all this stuff is process oriented, and as the process evolves, more possibilities will emerge. So I think we're just seeing the very tippy tip of the iceberg as far as what's possible in community. So when you know you start using technology like this, and you know the great thing about it is we're, you know, as you guys were pointing out last week on the show, you know, Web 2.0 is here, and it's kind of in some senses paving the way for this a little bit, because we've got real participatory platforms now that are becoming mainstream, and you know, it's less about
one of the things that would be useful, and actually that's what I was doing while you and Michael were talking. I was transcribing some of the show, and if anybody in your group wants to earn nods, for instance, transcribing, this would be the thing to do.
Yeah.
I think a transcription is a very useful thing to have with the show. You can cut, you can take pieces and make use of them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So,
well, we can put that out to the network.
Maybe I'll put something up on the CTC Ning later on, inviting people to work with me on the transcription. Yeah.
Well, this is all very good stuff. I really you know, appreciate the work that you guys have done, because obviously, you know, you've been involved in this effort for a number of years, and
15 to be exact. Well, actually, it's not that exact. Actually, it's more than 15 now. But I've been at it for a long time. Michael's been at it for even longer, like 25 years. So, and we've learned a thing or two, you know, in the process.
Well, I really want to acknowledge that, because it's you know, it takes dedication to you know, see something and stick with it for that long. And
could you leave it behind now, Alan?
No, it gets in you. It's just true. It's
impossible. Once you've seen it, there's nothing else that is as important.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's you know, it's important to also keep in mind that we're working in partnership with a lot of initiatives, and that everybody plays a really important role in all of this. But I definitely know.
No, we're talking about the core idea. Once you've got the core idea, there's no letting go.
I got into this through filmmaking, and I didn't think I was doing, you know, film about this subject. Still am. It's going to be released fairly soon. And
what's the film, Alan? Tell us the film.
The Money Fix. That's in
The Money Fix.
Yes.
And that's themoneyfix.org.
It is, and that's the website for this film. And you know, I when I started it, I was interested in being a farmer. Really, I wanted to work on the land.
Actually, we don't have time for this, Alan. Sorry, we don't have time. We're down to 40 seconds.
There it is.
And we got an outro to do. So you're Alan Rosenblith in Portland, and I'm Ernie Jacob in the Comox Valley. This has been Open Money on Blog Talk Radio. Get in touch if you want to talk with us. We'll be doing this again, no doubt, really soon. So let's get some conversations going.
Absolutely.
Right?
Thanks, Ernie.
Okay, thank you, Alan.
Real pleasure. And thank you, Michael.
We'll talk offline. We'll and debrief and talk about the next show.
All right. Sounds good.
Cool. See ya.
Bye-bye.